I put out 2 messages that weren't like my normal messages. And that is because the Lord had woke me up in the middle of the night to share with me some things. And when He shares His broken heart with me, it affects me deeply. And maybe to you, when you see it, you think it's Marion. She's not feeling well. She's having this problem. Believe you me, it's none of those things. I don't live like that. I don't think like that. And I don't believe like that. The joy of the Lord is my strength. When He interacts with me to let me know where His children are and how painful it is for Him, believe it or not, to watch and see some of the things that are done, some of the ways that they go. It's very, very difficult for me because I feel what He feels. Maybe not to the depth that He feels it, but to the depth that I can feel it. And it hurts. It hurts to know so many don't know what they're doing. And as far as I am concerned, the joy of the Lord is my strength. I have been through so many things this past 50 years that I don't need taught on how to keep joy or how to, all of the things that I give you are the things that I already learned. Or they are the things that I've already been through and overcome, and I am not in a place where I need anybody to correct me and teach me and tell me. Oh, I know many of you want to encourage me, but I've said it many times before. I don't need anybody to encourage me. The Lord encourages me all day long, every day. Every day of my life, He is right there to strengthen me and encourage me. And He's done that without anybody praying for me. For years and years, I had nobody that was able to pray for me. So, when you walk with God like that and talk with God for 40 years like that, believe you me, you're not in a place where you need prayer and you need people to lift you up and bear you up. It's just not going to happen. If you want to pray for me and that makes you feel good and you feel that's what God wants of you, that's fine. I don't, I'm not going to tell you not to. But I want you to know I've had God for so long that I have need of nothing. I am not here for me. I am here for you. And if you want me, then just take the wisdom that God gives. Take the words that God gives. Take everything that He is giving you and use it to get closer and deeper and find that great joy. Because I'm telling you, there is nothing that could ever give you joy than knowing you are pleasing to Him. When you know that you please Him and that He can come to you, and He's done it before, and He'd say, Marion, I would rather have one prayer out of you than out of multitudes. Because He knows how He raised me and how He trained me and where we walked together. He knows what He created and made in me. And you may believe it and you may not believe it, but it doesn't matter to me one way or the other. It really doesn't. Knowing that He's with me at all times in everything no matter what it is. Every time I sit down and I try to share something with someone, and maybe while I'm going through it, by the time I get done speaking it, the problem is already solved. So that person on the other end, they can't even pray. It's already solved. I already have the answers. I have everything, the peace, the joy, everything. So I'm not here. If you see sadness, it is because his heart is broken. His heart is broken at what has been done to his children. We live in such a time, and such a time of atrocities. I mean, they are atrocities. You can't name them any other way. And you can't laugh and be joyful at the same time that you can see children mutilated. If you can do that, then something's wrong with you. Because your heart should be broken the way God's heart is broken, knowing that he has children that are going through that. If you think God doesn't feel anything, you would be so, so wrong. The church itself needs far more than it has. And I hope and I pray that every one of you get into the Word. You know, ask God to open up your eyes to see Jesus as he is, not as you've been told he is, not as people say he is. I mean, how many miracles were done where I was taken off my deathbed in front of witnesses? I mean, I have a husband that witnessed it all. And he said the doctors must have a field day with all the things that I've been through and overcome. Because that long list that you have to fill out, do you have this, and this? He had to fill it out for me because I couldn't read it. And it just shocked him as he saw how many things that he had to mark that I had that were gone. And he could not say they were cured. He had to write healed because I was healed and delivered of them. And he was right there to see it. So that's why he laughs sometimes and he thinks, wow, this must really mess up their mind. And sometimes I really do think it did. But I am asking you to get your eyes off of me. Don't look at what you think I'm going through or what you think and poor me, because there's no poor me about me. I have actually more than a heart could wish. If I could give you what I have in God, I would hand it to you on a silver platter, but I can't. You have to find it. You have to get it. You have to value it. You see, you must value who he is the way he valued who you are. You see, he died because he valued you and did not want to see you perish. Each and every one of you, there is a value to you. And that's why you must even be careful with yourselves that you treat yourself with respect. You treat yourself in honesty and graciousness and respect. Because if you don't, nobody else will. And God respected you enough to die for you. So if you don't start thinking of yourself as someone that is valuable to God, my goodness. I mean, that was a great lesson I had to learn because I never valued myself. I never thought of myself as being important to anybody. But when he came and he began to show me how valuable I was, all by showing me how much he loved me when he died for me. That's not something that you grow into and then you grow out of. You grow into and then you put it aside. No, it's something that grows constantly. It grows to a level of, it goes beyond all understanding. It brings a peace and a joy that you couldn't even imagine. He took a tormented soul and he took everything that was wrong and he redid me when he made me reborn. He literally took nothing and made it something. Well, that's what he wants to do with you. But he cannot do it if you do not seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. If you go out into that world and you think you're ready to tell everybody about Jesus, and you want to go and you work in a church and you want to do, understand one thing. If you did not spend enough time with him, just you and him, you're going to wind up hitting a brick wall. You're going to wind up because you have got to stay with him, just you and him, until the job is done. There are souls right now that they think they are so gifted, they don't have to go that path. They think you give them, it's like you give them a tiny bit, like this much, and they take off with it, which is no different than all the other ones that have fallen, all the other ones that ran ahead of God. If you're running ahead of God, understand, God is not with you on it. You're you're going to enter into strong delusion so that you believe a lie because you're trying to jump over the process of being close to God. So when you say, well, I've got this relationship and God and I this, if you have not taken the time to be holy, to be righteous, to test and exercise your faith with him, because you see, your all of your thoughts and all of your feelings, dying to self is not picking up your cross and running with it and going into church and prophesying and showing everybody what you have. That's not God. Oh, hey, they'll look up to you for a while. But that's not the path to go. You must tarry before the Lord. You must be silent. There's a time of silence. There's a time that you have to be before him only. Because if you're looking for affirmation, if you're looking for people to accept you, and you'll run, you will literally run. Like I told you, that one prophet, she was just so powerful in her church. She was a prophet for her church. And she just, oh, I got to tell my pastor, she didn't even know what she was going to tell him. Those that get dreams and visions and think that that makes them deep in the Lord, you're so silly. Because you might as well do what Paul the Apostle talked about, worshiping angels. Because a lot of dreams and visions come from angels, and they're not always the right ones. If you do not take the time to be holy, and you say, well, you don't know me. I know enough to have God tell me and warn me when I can feel a message coming from you, and I feel the fear of God that men tread where angels fear to go. When I feel the fear of God that you're doing Bible studies and you're working with this soul and that soul, and you don't have enough. The time is going to come where you need enough. and you did not spend enough time with him. And it's all because you have listened to the wrong people. You have come in contact with people who did a little change, just a little bit, just enough, and they appear to you like they're changing leaps and bounds. And I'm telling you, the core of those people are wrong. The core is going to come out. They feed off of you. They take part of you off of you, and they take it to themselves, and you let them. You freely give it away when you're not ready to give anybody anything. You should have spent more time with God. I remember when God had me back off of everybody, just me and him. And it took a long period of time so that I didn't hear and wasn't influenced by people who thought they had something they didn't have. People who are like vampires will suck everything that's godly out of you and take it to themselves and fool you into thinking you're helping them when all they're doing in the end is using you. You will never say, when you stand before God, you will never say, I did not warn you. You will never say it because this isn't personal. This isn't about me. This isn't about whether you're with me or not with me or whether you listen, or it has nothing to do with it. It has to do with your not listening to God. And when God comes to me and he lets me know you're in danger, and I try to reach you to tell you, and you won't listen, there's nothing I can do. So you have to, and you can say, well, I'm going to find it out for myself. You may find it out too late. I've seen people do it too many times. And by the time they wanted to change from what they were doing, it was already too late. I've seen people try and try, and it just was too late. Now, I don't know who this is for, and I don't know why, and it doesn't matter. But I'm letting you know I'm not easily fooled. If you seem to have a place where suddenly, after struggling for years, you suddenly seem to have everything when you haven't even really spent time with God, that's not God. It's not, you're going to find that out. And when you're fellowship with people that you really think, you think, I'm sitting here laughing because I remember myself. I can remember 2 times in my life that I really felt this has got to be the church. They are so wonderful in here. They are oh so godly. Everything's working out. And they would receive me. They would everything. And you know what? It took me 4 years to find out what they were really like and what they were doing. 4 years before it manifested. And God told me, he said, Marion, you didn't ask me if you could go to that church. You didn't ask me at all. You told me that's what you wanted to do. All of you are looking for a home church, all of you. But you don't realize if you don't know what you're doing, you're not a help to other people and they can't help you. You must first take the time to be holy and spend some time with God. And it doesn't take no 2 days. It doesn't take a week or 2 weeks. It takes time. And you just want to jump over the process and leaps and bounds. By miracle, you think you're going to get ahead of God and do whatever you want. Because when there are people like that they, when you give them a little inch, they take a whole mile. They do. And so this is why I'm very careful with who I fellowship with. Uh, as a matter of fact, I don't fellowship with anybody anymore because I have found they just use it. They use it for their own self purpose. So there's nothing I can do. And they go and they think they've got God. And there's nothing I can do. They put a gulf between us, and there's nothing I can do. Because it takes a humility to understand, and they won't go there, and there's nothing I can do. So, here we are today. For those of you who are really striving to hear God's voice, working on it. I mean, some of you, it's a daily work. It's a daily time that you exercise that faith. If you don't spend that time with him, you're going to run off thinking you got it all. And you're going to be deceived and you're going to wind up having to die to self anyway. You're going to wind up, and this is not the hour and the time to do it, because the hour and the time God wants to use people, and he wants them to be raised up, but he wants them the way he wants them, not the way they think they ought to go. I don't know what else to say about that. I've done the best I can, Lord. I've told everything that I could possibly say to try to get people to realize tarry. You know what tarry means? Stay a little while. Stay. When you think you've made it, really search and say, have I, Lord? Reveal it to me, Lord. Because I'm telling you, this isn't something that you can have done in weeks or months. To be used of God the way you're looking, if you were just looking for yourself, that you get close to God and for your family, that's one thing. But when you want to be used, you're looking for something else. And that's not a bad thing to be used. But if you go too soon, you're going to run into trouble. I think about today and how it started out stormy and rainy, and it turned out to be a beautiful day. I think about how wonderful it is for me to be in this area. I love this neighborhood and this area. I feel peace in it. I don't feel anybody against me or fighting or uh, gossip or lies. I don't feel any of that I felt the oppression when I was uh, in that 55 plus community. I don't feel any of that. I feel joy and peace, and I feel the sweetness of neighbors. It's just, when you come in contact with them, they're just kind, sweet people. I feel that, and I love that. He says, don't take up a cause against your neighbor because you have to live next door to them. So don't pick up a cause and fight them. There's a lot of people that do that and don't understand that you have to live next to your neighbor. So you should be at peace. And peace is not something that you just falls from the sky. When you're at peace with yourself, somebody can come up and accuse you, lie on you, and you still have peace. You don't have a desire to hurt them. You don't have a desire to retaliate. You have peace and you have joy, because the most important thing is the Lord in your life. And that's what you have. You have peace. And God says that's the thing we've been called to first, is peace. Peace that goes far beyond understanding. I was talking in one of the videos about timing, of how, you know, if I have any appointments to have to go anywhere, I don't rush. I don't I don't ever rush. I don't ever feel that I have to hurry. I have to be there. I have to do. I don't do that ever. I got victory over that 40 years ago. I got victory over a lot of things 40 years ago, and they still stay with me today. And that is why dying to self is important. I think I'm going to make a video on how things happen in the heavenlies. And I'll use the only examples that you probably could read about. I'm going to do this right now.